What's going on, everyone? Today we're doing a deep dive on Prime. No, not the Prime membership that's going to get you 2-day delivery. We're talking about Prime Inc. You guys requested it, so that's what we're doing today. In this video, we're doing some online research. We're looking at other people's stories who have been with Prime Inc. And we're also going to call a driver recruiter to see if we can get more information. Let's go. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at their website to see what they're all about on their website here. Okay, so we went to this qualification page. Looks like you must be 21 years of age with a valid driver's license, must be able to obtain a U.S. passport, TWIC card, and hazmat endorsement, have verifiable work history and references, have an acceptable motor vehicle record, must be able to meet the minimum medical qualifications set by the FMCSA. Okay, medical requirements. Okay, so these are just the FMCSA medical requirements. If you want to go back in my channel, I actually just recently did a video about what could disqualify you from getting your physical, and that's basically the same stuff that they have on here. Looks like they got terminals in Salt Lake City, Pittston, Pennsylvania, Pittston, Pennsylvania, and Springfield, Missouri. Criminal history here, because I know that's a big question for a lot of people to decide on whether they're going to go work for a company. Some people do have a criminal record, and that's a big thing. An affirmative answer to this question regarding criminal record will not automatically result in the denial of employment. An applicant's criminal record will be evaluated based on the job for which they are applying. Let's go back here to their main website. So we're looking at driver compensation here. Okay, so they got a decent breakdown actually here of what they're paying. Looks like company solo drivers are at 50 cents per mile full-size truck and 55 cents per mile for a lightweight truck. I'm not sure what the difference is on that. My guess is this is a straight truck for the lightweight truck, which really doesn't make sense if you're making more per mile. The only thing that I can consider that being more pay per mile is that the trips are shorter. You're doing more local deliveries and stuff with that. Company team drivers is 69 cents per mile split. Now, when it says split, what that means is every mile that the truck is driving, it's getting paid 69 cents per mile. So if the truck drives 5,000 miles for a week, it's 5,000 miles at 69 cents per mile, and then those pay is split between both drivers. Independent contractors have 42% of the, or 72% of the revenue, which is actually pretty good. Some independents get a 60-40 split. Others are a little bit better than that, so that kind of depends. I wouldn't recommend doing this independent contractor stuff. That's more of your lease purchase. If you own your own equipment, that's fine. And you would be an independent contractor for Prime, and you would get 72% of the revenue. But there's so many more details. If you are a truck owner and you're watching this, give them a call and talk to them about the specifics of that, because this is a pretty blanket statement. And also, I'm not seeing any dry van. So I don't think they run dry van at all, I'm guessing, because all I see is refrigerated, flatbed, and tanker. Okay, so these are showing some of the perks here. Supporting our drivers, passenger and pet policy. Most companies have a passenger and pet policy. You're allowed to take somebody with you on the truck. Insurance, almost every company has insurance. Home policy. We understand the importance of family, which is why our drivers will receive 1 day of home time per 7 days on the road. This way our drivers can recharge before going back to work. Now, any major carrier, this is pretty much a standard across the board. You earn 1 day of home time for a week out on the road. It's just kind of what it does. Drivers can receive up to $2,800 in paid vacation each year, depending on the number of miles they drive. The more you drive, the more time off you are given. Okay, so they offer some vacation time. That's nice. That's not really a big thing in the trucking industry. Normally you drive the truck and then you just take time off. Okay, so this is for independent contractors, aka lease purchase, and you guys know how I feel about lease purchase. If you've been on my channel at all, I do not recommend lease purchase, and the big reason for that is if you are buying a truck from the company that pays your bills, that writes you the check at the end of the week, anytime they want to make sure you can't make your lease payment, all they have to do is back down that workload for you. So they control the dollar that you get in order to pay them back for the truck. So I really don't like that. If you do want to buy your own truck, go and do some financing through a bank or something and go buy a truck and then lease the truck onto them, meaning that you'd be driving their trailers, but you would have complete control over your truck. And this allows you to leave if you don't like what's going on over there. If there's some shady stuff going on, you can just take your truck and go. And you know that they're not going to play any games. If they don't want you to get paid and they're not paying you right, again, you could just take your truck and go. So I don't recommend that lease purchase, just because it doesn't make sense to owe money to the people that pay your bills. That's weird. And it's quite dangerous, actually. I've heard some horror stories about people getting halfway through their lease and then they start not giving them miles, and then they lose their truck. Okay, so this website is set up pretty cool. I mean, I like the way it's set up here. This is under the tab of driver training. Here's your guide to driving with Prime. Start your career as an over-the-road truck driver. Here, those who become a company driver for Prime are eligible for a number of benefits, including health insurance, 401k, paid vacation. Apply for the program and obtain a permit. Okay, so they want you to have a permit before you even go there. Now, the difference between working for a company like this, where you have to get the permit first, a CDL school will help you get your permit. They'll teach you everything you need to know to pass to get the permit, whereas this does not. It doesn't look like. So you'll have to get the driver's manual. You'll have to study yourself. You'll have to go and take the 3-part test in order to get your permit. After you get your permit, you come to orientation in one of the locations, it looks like. Work one-on-one with an instructor while you learn how to drive a semi-truck. You'll get practice with the necessary components of your CDL exam, along with experience hauling freight. Okay, pass your CDL exam. Those who passed on their first try will receive a $250 bonus. After you pass the CDL exam, you'll continue to train with a trainer for a minimum of 30,000 miles. Get experience hauling loads across the country while receiving compensation of at least $900 per week, as long as you are available for dispatch. Okay, so during your final training, meaning after you've gotten your CDL, and this is pretty common in any large carrier, you'll have to go for training if you don't have enough experience, and that's pretty common. 30,000 miles seems fair. When I went through training at a major carrier, it was 40,000 miles, but it wasn't with a trainer. It was with another person who had already done 5,000 miles with a trainer. So it was a little sketchy there, but we made it through. Oh, okay. Here's a little caveat here. It says a minimum of $672 a week if you're available for dispatch and at home. So you're only getting $900 per week if you're stuck out on the road somewhere waiting for them to get you a load. That's a little weird. I mean, $672 a week to sit at home and do nothing. I mean, yeah, that's cool too, I guess. So I wouldn't really be complaining too much about that. Well, let's take a look here. You got 30,000 miles with a trainer. Let's figure out how much that's going to be. Okay, so we're on the calculator here. We're going to do 30,000 miles. And on average, oh, not 300,000, 30,000. On average, you should be making between 2,000 and 2,500 miles per week. So let's go at the low end here. We'll divide that by 2,000 miles a week. That should take you about 15 weeks. 15 weeks divided by 4 weeks in a month should take you about 3.75 months, or probably about 4 months to complete that part of your training. Which in all actuality, that's not terribly bad. You know, you're doing 4 months of training after you get your CDL. That's pretty standard. And it's good to have time with a trainer, somebody who has experience, to ask questions and try to figure it out, and somebody who's there to guide you. So it's definitely an important step to becoming a good truck driver, is to lean on people that have more experience than what you have. Okay, so this is just giving some reasons why you should go work with Prime. Realistically, every company has most of these options, 24/7 support. A lot of major carriers, and I'll tell you this just from experience as well as hearing from other drivers that it's still the case. If you don't have a load Friday, by the end of the day, you're screwed for the weekend. And that's just the way it goes. So they're bragging about having some weekend dispatch, but realistically, a ton of businesses close on the weekend. So if you're starting out in the trucking industry, try to make sure you're getting a load by the end of the day Friday so you can keep running over the weekend. If not, that's a great time to sit down and do your 34-hour reset. Okay, at least with Prime, we're not doing that because that's dangerous for you as a truck driver. Top of the line equipment. Everybody and their mama has top of the line equipment. an app, some incentive pay, and tuition reimbursement. Okay, let's take a look at this. If you've already received your Class A CDL, you may be eligible for a reimbursement of up to $1,500. Talk to your recruiter and see if you are eligible. What would make you eligible? And it's up to $1,500. And as many of you know who have already gone or are going through CDL school, it's a lot more expensive than $1,500, but anything to take a little bit of the load off, it's definitely helpful. All right, so we're on the old Googler here, and we're going to take a look at some reviews. 4.2 stars, majority is 5 stars, and there's really not a whole lot in the middle here. Just kind of on that 1 star or 5 star, but 4.2 stars isn't terrible. We've seen worse. First review, showing on the most relevant. This is the GOAT, or greatest of all time, company to work with if you are in the transportation and trucking industry, as long as you know what you are doing or humble yourself to learn the system. We got a 1 star here from April 25th, 2025, 10 a.m. here in Nebraska. This what their driver does. From over 20 miles, they block traffic, and none of the driver have sense of driving. Okay, so the speed is 75 miles an hour, and you guys are both impeding traffic and doing 65 miles per hour. Seriously. Okay, so here's one of the main problems of Prime, and they are notorious for backing up traffic. But it's really not the driver's fault. It's the truck's fault, or the trucking company, because they put governors on their trucks. What does a governor do? This limits the speed at which the semi-truck can travel. And I found out in my recruiter phone call that they govern their trucks at 62 miles per hour. Now, I do not agree with governors at all, or at least none that restrict your speed to lower than what the average interstate can do, meaning 70 miles per hour. Most interstates in the country, 70 miles an hour is a good average. Now, I know there's some out west that are 75, 80, 85 miles an hour, which is fine, but I think 70 miles an hour should be at least the minimum that a truck is able to do. Now, this is all in the name of safety. However, I think it's much more dangerous to have trucks going significantly slower than the speed of traffic than able to keep up with the speed of traffic. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of these companies have restricted drivers' professionalism by telling them how fast they can and cannot go. If a truck driver is being irresponsible and driving significantly above the speed limit, send them packing. Go to a different company and do all that crazy stuff. But you should trust drivers to have enough responsibility and be professional in their career to follow the speed limits or close to it. And that's just my 2 cents on speed limit governors. Okay, so this is a 4-star review here. I have been driving for Prime for 1.5 years, and they are a really good company. Okay, it is a challenging job and the hours can be long. That's trucking. But if you are dedicated, Prime can change your life. Very cool. Okay, 5-star review here. Not a Prime driver, but a Prime partner. I am beyond appreciative of all Prime has done for our company. Okay, so basically they own trucks and they have their trucks leased on with Prime. That's what a Prime partner is. Okay, we got a 1-star review here. 2 months ago, worst company ever. Please, for those who is trying to take their CDL, please don't fall for their lease trap. I keep telling people, don't do the lease purchase stuff. At the beginning, they will tell you is walk away lease, but then if you do, they still send thousands of dollars to pay for it. They're claiming that it's a walk away lease, but if you decide to walk away, they're going to charge you money for walking away. So we got some 5 stars, some 1 stars, some 5 stars, some 1 stars. Pretty common stuff here. All right, one last place I want to look really quick is Reddit. It seems to be a really good go-to spot for people that want to give some unbiased opinions about a company. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so this person asked, does anyone have any experience with Prime Inc? I work for Swift and I'm ready to get the F out of here. Not going to rant on that BS I deal with, but I only have 6 months experience driving. Was thinking about Prime Inc. in Missouri. This person said, Prime will be just as bad as Swift. Don't jump from Omega to Omega. That only makes for misery. Do you know the difference between one mega carrier and literally any other mega carrier? It's a trick question. There is no difference. Stay where you're at until you have enough experience to get insured by a small local company. Switching jobs after less than a year closes the door for you. Yeah, I definitely recommend sticking with a company for about a year. Now, I understand if things aren't going great and there's problems and things going on, especially if you're not getting paid or you're not getting home when you need to get home. Those are two big issues that I look at when I'm looking at leaving a company for any particular reason. Realistically, you should be able to get other carriers to insure you and let you come on board with 6 months of experience. It may also be a mega carrier, but you know, if things aren't going great, try something else. There's no harm in it. Company loyalty within the trucking community is pretty rare. I don't think it necessarily looks bad to be jumping around. I would definitely try to keep at like the 6 month at a time if you need to make a change or more. But you should be able to find something. Okay, this person says, frying pan to fire, Prime will starve you and ruin your credit. This person says, look for local jobs, food service jobs. I strongly suggest finishing your first year at Swift. That opens doors after that. Yeah, I mean, a year is like a great spot to be. So this one says, try to get onto one of Swift's dedicated accounts. They're really nice and pay better than they're over the road. Definitely people aren't recommending to go to Prime, at least not here on Reddit. But let's go ahead and jump into the recruiter phone call. Now, I will tell you before I start here, I did call them one time and I forgot to hit record. So I did call them back. The second person that I talked to wasn't nearly as friendly or helpful. So I'm going to go ahead right now and just tell you some of the information that the first recruiter told me. And I really apologize. I forgot to hit the record button when I started to make this video. So as we've seen on the online research, there isn't really any dry van available. And that's what the recruiter was telling me as well, that they do have reefer options. And those at 6 months of experience would get you 50 cents per mile. Now, as we've seen on their website as well, they do offer a driver training program, so if that's something that you're interested in, check that out. The big problem with reefers is layover. A lot of times these shippers and receivers take forever to get you loaded and unloaded. So I always want to ask about layover when I'm talking to somebody that's specifically reefer. Prime Inc. does pay layover after 4 hours. Now, the industry standard is after 2 hours, so you have to wait even longer to start getting paid for sitting there. And as we've talked about before on other situations, you got to take what they're paying you per hour after that 4 hours and divide it by the total of time that you have been there in order to get your hourly average for that time. So keep that in mind. That's kind of a negative for me. 4 hours to sit there and do nothing and not get paid for it's kind of ridiculous. 2 hours is even ridiculous in my opinion. It shouldn't take any more than an hour to get loaded or unloaded anywhere, but you know, this is the stuff that we have to deal with out there. The good news with the reefer though, and those high layover numbers, is that 50% of it is drop and hook according to that recruiter. Your time on the road, they'd like you to spend 3 to 4 weeks out, and then you'd have 3 to 4 days home. Week out equals a day home. I did ask him about the governing situation, and the trucks are governed at 62 if you are an independent, meaning your lease purchase, it is 65, so they do give you a little bit of a bump. Generally, if it's governed at 62 and you turn on cruise control, it'll let you get up to 65, but still 65 on 70, 75 mile an hour roads, that's really a crummy number to be at. I'd like to see 70 miles per hour be, you know, kind of like the industry standard of governed trucks if they have to govern them. They did offer me, posing as somebody with 6 months experience, the opportunity to go and run flatbed. And on flatbed, it was 52 cents per mile and $50 to tarp the load. And after I found out all this information, I ended up getting off with that call and realized I didn't hit record, so I apologize for that. But I did call him back to try to talk to another recruiter and see what kind of information I could get, and specifically if there was differing information from the first recruiter.
Thank you for calling Prime. This is Michelle.
Hi, Michelle. I was calling to see if I could talk to a recruiter.
Sure, just a moment.
Thank you.
Please note that this call may be recorded for training purposes. Derek, help you.
Hey, Derek. I was calling to see if I can get any information from you about like how much experience you guys require.
How much experience do you have? Who are you driving with right now?
I got 6 months experience, and I'm currently driving with Warner.
6 months? Is it all 6 months with Warner?
Yeah, I got my CDL with them.
Are you driving over the road?
Yes.
Are you driving over the road, or is it local or regional?
It's over the road.
Over the road. As long as you have a full 6 months, we'd be able to start you off on your own if you meet our other qualifications. It has to be like a full 6 months. If there's anything under that, we'd have to start you off with training.
Okay, and what would that training process look like? I'm pretty sure I'd have to check the exact date, but I'm pretty sure I'm right at 6 months.
It kind of depends. If it's just slightly under, we'd start you off with about 15,000 miles of team driving or training. The training would usually last about 3 weeks to about a month.
You said 3 weeks to a month?
Mm-hmm. Be 15,000 miles of team driving. On that 15,000, it'd be every mile that hits the truck that goes towards that total, including the trainers. On average, it usually lasts about 3 weeks to about a month. During that 15,000 miles of team driving or training, we'll guarantee that you make at least $900 a week as long as you're available to drive.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then with
After the team driver and training is done, at that point, you'd be solo.
Okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
What I would do, like I said, I would just try to figure your start date with Warner and then just call us back. If you're at a 6 month mark, like I said, at that point, we'd just be able to start you off on your own. I just check on that start date, because if you're close even to, it probably makes sense for you if you can just try to, kind of stomach it or work it out to try to hit that 6 month mark itself, just so you can come on as a solo driver.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds good. I'm fine with sticking with them for a little bit longer. I'm just calling around to see what my options are today, even if, like I said, it can't be more than a week off. I was trying to see, once I get to I'll wait and get to that 6 months, just so I don't have to sit with another trainer. That sounds miserable.
Sure.
So what would we look at with that as far as cents per mile?
What kind of trailers are you pulling right now?
Just dry van.
The only thing we'd be able to do is refrigerated freight with starting without training. Are you okay with pulling reefer?
I guess it kind of just depends. I've heard that there's a lot of detention with that.
Anything else, we'd have to start you out the training. And so right now we're only bringing tanker drivers that have tanker experience. If you want to do flatbed, once again, we'd still have to start you off that 15,000 miles of team driving or training. All we're bringing in for solo to start off immediately is with flatbed, with people that have flatbed experience. Are you okay with pulling reefer?
Yeah, I mean, I could be. Like I said, I was just curious about like what you guys do for detention on that. Is there detention pay with reefer?
It's like 15 cents. Yeah, 15 cents an hour, or $15 an hour for detention pay. Once you hit a certain mark, we start. If you want company, it's 50 cents a mile. We'd start you off on company lease operators who pay 72% of the line allowance to haul. Company drivers right now are averaging about $12.50 a week gross pay before taxes. Lease operators are averaging close to about $13.60 a week take home after all costs. So, all the information too. If you go to our website at driveforprime.com, all the information will be on that website.
Okay.
We're pretty transparent about the information there. If you just kind of keep an eye on that and compare it to the other offers you look at, if you decide that if you want to start with us, you put an application and we'll follow up with you.
Okay, and then what was the rough estimate on the miles per week on the reefer? You said
2,400.
2,400 miles per week?
2,400. Like I said, our drivers on the company are averaging about $12.50 a week gross pay before taxes. The lease operators are averaging close to about $13.60.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Are you there?
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good day.
Okay. Okay, so prior to actually flipping on the recording, I actually talked to another guy named Dustin, and he was a lot more helpful. This guy here, he seemed to be very much so in a hurry, spewing through what he had to say. A little bit frustrating, a little bit different information coming from him too. So now there was an option for Prime to look to get your CDL, so I'm going to go ahead and call them back now and see if I could talk to them about what it would take to get your CDL through Prime, just to give you guys a little bit more information. I know a lot of you guys don't have 6 months or any experience yet, so let me talk to them and see what they got to say about that.
Thank you for calling Prime. This is Michelle.
Hi, do you guys have a school that will teach me how to get a CDL?
Yes, let me get you over to that department and they'll be able to help you.
Oh, thank you.
1 moment.
So this is like the third time that I've called them, and I appreciate that they give you somebody to talk to right out of the gate. Even if it's just an operator, then you go to the automated system. It's really quite nice, and we're going to go ahead and jump in here right now.
The Prime Training Program helps you earn your CDL with no cost to start. In addition, you pay nothing as long as you drive for Prime with your CDL for 1 year. This is an over-the-road training program that starts with a 3-day orientation in Springfield, Missouri, Salt Lake City, Utah, or Pittston, Pennsylvania. We cover the cost of transportation to orientation, 3 meals per day, and your hotel stay during orientation. Once you complete orientation, you train with a CDL instructor for 2 to 4 weeks with your permit out on the road. When you are ready, you come back to one of our prime main 3 terminals to take the CDL exam. After you pass the CDL exam, you are eligible to be hired and can start getting paid a guarantee of $900 per week as long as you are available to drive during the second phase of training while you obtain at least 50,000 training miles. Once you complete your 50,000 training miles, you will be eligible for review to upgrade into your own truck. Upgrade eligibility is based on service, safety, and truck availability. During the training program, you will be out approximately 3 to 4 weeks at a time away from home.
Okay, so that was an automated message that they have for anybody looking to go get their CDL. And it seems like they will train you to get your CDL, but that comes with a 1-year contract. Now, what does this contract mean? It means that they won't charge you any money for your training as long as you work for them for a year. So I'm guessing as you're going along, you're paying towards that balance. And if you leave any time before that year is up, you will owe the balance that remains on the charges for going through school. But if you stay with them for a year, you get a CDL on the house, basically. Once you pass your exam and get your CDL, you'll go out for 50,000 training miles with a trainer. Now, 50,000 miles is a lot. That's quite a bit of miles. You're looking at about 6 months on that if you're driving normal over-the-road rates. During those 6 months, you have a guaranteed pay of $900 a week. Now, I'm guessing that's before taxes, and then you have to take the 20%, 15%, whatever it is for taxes from that, and you'll be able to see what your net pay is. But a caveat to that is you are getting paid to get your CDL, basically. And it looks like in the training miles, it's the same home time as what it would be if you were on your own solo. And that's every 3 to 4 weeks, or every week that you're out on the road, you get 1 day home. And this is pretty standard amongst the industry. It's just kind of the way it goes. So we're going to look at 50 cents per mile at 23 to 2,500 miles per week is what they were saying. Now, 2,500 miles a week is definitely doable. That's a normal, nice full week. You should be able to get 2,500 to 3,000 miles actually, but it all depends on how the dispatch is routing you. And unfortunately with large carriers, more often than not, that 23 to 2,500 really means 15 to 2,000 miles, if I'm being honest, just based off of my experience. So we'll go ahead and run it at, let's do 2,000 miles for the week, just to be, you know, kind of in the middle of what my experience is and what they're saying. So we'll do 2,000 miles a week times 50 cents a mile. It's $1,000 a week before taxes. Now, they did say while you were in training, there is a $900 minimum. So after taxes, that's probably about what you're at here. Let's actually do that. 1,000 times 20% for taxes. This is a little bit of an over exaggeration. Normally it's between 20 and 18%, but it all depends on where you live. So that's $200 just for taxes. Subtract that from $1,000 and you're at about $800 after taxes. I haven't found any more information if the amount that they are claiming for the mileage per week is accurate or not. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt here and find out. So you're looking at 2,500 miles a week here times 50 cents a mile. You're looking at $1,250. Multiply that for taxes, about 20% for taxes, $250. So you're looking to make about $1,000 after taxes. So unfortunately, I was unable to come up with a driver to talk to this time, but let's see if we can find out some more information by looking right here on YouTube to see if we can find any other drivers who have shared their experience working for Prime Inc. All right, so we're going to take a look at this guy. He said he's finishing up his first 90 days with Prime, and he's going to share his experience. So we're going to take a look at that. Nothing better than a firsthand experience of a driver telling you how it is. I could do these reviews all day and do a deep dive onto the company, but the best information is going to come from the source.
Title of this video, it is basically my 90 days at Prime, my 90-day review of Prime Inc. I have been on the road with Prime for 90 days now, just over 90 days. I started back in March as a CDL permit holder, and I am now a CDL Class A driver. First thing I have on my list is this is a no-frills company. A lot of the times I think, you know, people see what they see online about Prime, and they maybe see the beautiful trucks. Another YouTuber called them Jolly Rancher trucks. You know, pink, lime green, black, orange, yellow, purple, any color truck that you want, burgundy, you can get from Prime. But at the end of the day, it's just a color, it's the truck, it goes on the road, it turns you revenue, and that's it. The reason I say that Prime is a no frills company is because there has yet to be anything at Prime that I can honestly say I'm wowed about, right? That's not necessarily a knock on Prime. That's just to say that this company is just a company that gets your wheels turning in this industry. So it's a no frills company. Cheap bus tickets to come to their orientation, when there are companies now that offer flights. I just don't think that in 2024 you should be sending your potential drivers on a bus.
Okay, so it sounds like he's done it just last year, so this is really up-to-date information. So it seems like he's a great source to find out a little bit more information, so we're going to keep on going here.
Campus Inn Hotel, a complete freaking nightmare of a hotel stay. Once I'm out of the TNT phase of Prime Inc., I will never stay at Campus Inn again. I would rather spend my dollar and stay somewhere where I feel like I can get a good night of rest. Campus Inn does not feel like a place where I can get a good night of rest. It feels outdated. It feels dank. It feels old. Like you are on despair road.
So it sounds like they have a company hotel. They purchased a hotel as a company, and that's where they put new drivers up in. This is kind of a common thing. A lot of times truckers can get rowdy and stuff, and they get kicked out of the regular hotels. So they end up purchasing a hotel of their own, which they hire their staff for and all that stuff. So it sounds like this hotel that they have for the Campus Inn, meaning it's Prime's hotel, it's a little rundown.
Don't get me wrong, the food at the terminals, it's a hot meal. It's, you know, food that you can get at like your local diner. It's burgers, it's chicken tenders, it's wings, it's all the things that you can get at a local diner. But there's no local diner touch. The problem that I have with the food at the Prime facilities is that it feels like everything comes in a frozen popsicle pack. There's no aha, there's no, oh, this is amazing, I gotta get this again. It just doesn't wow you at all. And if you ever come to Prime, if you decide to come to Prime, you'll understand what I mean when you get there. It's just food. Affordable laundry is one of those things in my first 90 days that I can speak highly about. I like the affordable laundry. Laundry at Prime is 50 cents for washer and 50 cents for your dryer.
Wow.
Now, in this economy, anything that you can get for under $1, that's a plus in my book. Home time requests. I have not had an issue with home time requests. I like that Prime has freight pretty much going anywhere and everywhere. The last 2 times that I needed to get home, the day that I needed to be there, or the like a day before the day I needed to be there. So that's fine with me. I have had a great TNT experience. My TNT trainer is probably one of the most coolest, dopest, extremely friendly people that I've ever met. He is non-combative. He goes with the flow. He allows you to learn, and he's not in your face 24/7. He doesn't treat training as if he's your boss, even though he's the trainer and you're the trainee. He treats it as equal. He treats it like we're doing this together. Remember I told you guys a while back that within my first week, I blew past an inspection station. Prime told me that I needed to come in, take a safety course. I did that. Prime told me I needed to drive the
Okay, we're going to pause here. It sounds like they have cameras in their trucks. I don't know if it's forward facing or driver facing or both. But if they are catching you going past a DOT inspection station, which sometimes that happens, you know, you can't get over in time, but you just got to pass it up because it's unsafe to cut off 5 cars just to get to the inspection station. However, if they're catching it and making him come in for a safety course for it, that means that they are monitoring it and they're watching it somehow. My guess, dash cam. And this is the reason why I encourage people to get their own dash cam to protect themselves, because realistically, those dash cams that the companies provide, all that is to cover their own butt. And it's an unfortunate thing. And really, it's more of a tattletale than a safety measure.
Later that they have 3 times. I did that. And then out of nowhere, a safety person comes in after I've done my safety class. I'm at the terminal, and they tell me that I got to complete 10,000 extra miles. And I'm like, well, what is this? Oh, nobody told me you could just add 10,000 miles. And it's not like I got a ticket. I got a warning, right? And I'm like, you guys didn't explicitly say that this is something that could happen. And, you know, the safety person's defense was, well, if we would have told you this, would it have changed the outcome in any way? And I'm like, well, maybe it might have. But things like that that I didn't find out, you know, just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And that's kind of the recap of my 90 days with Prime. Overall, it's just a trucking company, right?
Yeah. Okay. So any of these big companies, they go over the top about safety, almost to the point of where it's very clearly them just covering their own butt. They could care less about you as the driver. They want to show that if there are other accidents in the future, that, okay, this driver has gone through this many safety or this many training programs, and it can be proven that we tried to give this driver as much knowledge as possible. He's just the idiot that messed up. It wasn't our fault. And we ended up watching a trucker deposition on an accident some time ago, and it kind of shows from the lawyer's perspective that that's what they're asking about. They're asking about training, they're asking about inspections, they're asking about these things of the driver to make sure that he actually did what he was supposed to do. So a lot of this additional safety drama is more so about covering the company's butt and not so much covering yours. And it's frustrating, but this is one of the downsides of doing business with a major carrier. Unfortunately, as a general rule, if you're just getting into the trucking industry, you're gonna have to go with one of these major carriers. It's just the way it is. A lot of the smaller companies don't have the access to the insurance that will allow new truck drivers to come drive for them. And realistically, the insurance is the puppeteers of the whole show here. It sounds like overall this guy had a decent experience. It was kind of a meh experience as far as, you know, coming into orientation and the food that they provided, the hotel, that experience was a little for him. But hey, you're getting started in the trucking industry. You got some warm meals to eat. You got a place to sleep. And, you know, you're getting the training that you need. So those are some critiques that, in my opinion, shouldn't be taken into that much consideration. Now, if there's roaches crawling all over your bed, yeah, get the heck out of there. That's gross.
There's nothing wrong with being just a trucking company. I recommend you coming here. I say it all the time. If you need to get your CDLs and you want to start the trucking career, stop waiting, come to Prime. This company is no different from Swift, Schneider, JB Hunt, to any other trucking company that will give you a job with no experience.
Seems like he's excited about Prime. It's kind of a meh company, but realistically, all these major companies are, and that's the point that he was trying to make. It really doesn't matter what company you go to work for, whether it's Prime, Schneider, Knight Transportation, Warner. All these ones I've done deep dive reviews on, and realistically, they're all pretty similar. Some have advantages and disadvantages. Some are great. Some are a little bit better in some areas than others, but the point of the matter is if you're trying to get your CDL, if you're going to make this a career of yours, you got to get started somewhere. So just start, give it a year and a half or so, and you'll get enough experience to where you can start picking and choosing where you want to go based off of a little bit more narrowed criteria. That's going to have to do for this video, and I apologize. It is very difficult to source a driver that's willing to come on and talk on camera or talk on the phone with me about the company. Trust me when I tell you, I definitely give it my best effort reaching out to multiple platforms. So if you've watched this and you want to tell me your experience about any of the major carriers that I haven't done yet, please reach out to me. I got my email down below. Reach out in the comments, or you can join our Discord. And there's a bunch of drivers in there talking about the different companies that I've already done a breakdown on, and you can get some more information from them as well on their experience in real time. So it's a great community of drivers over there that are working together to help each other out, share information, and it's a great spot to be. So come join our Discord. All right, now for the big question. Would I go to work for Prime? Well, here's a couple of things that I like about Prime. I like their cents per mile, and assuming they're being somewhat honest about the mileage that you're going to get a week, I actually like that, about 2,000 to 2,500 miles a week. For a first company to start with, that's not terrible at all. Now, these reefers that they're promoting is definitely going to be an issue. I just know that you're going to be stuck at a dock if you're on a reefer. So I would try to avoid that. If you can get doing flatbed, it's a little bit more work, but it's a little bit more rewarding as well. And it's going to keep you from having to sit at a dock for 4, 5, 6, 10 hours sometimes. It's ridiculous out there on the reefer units. It seems like their training is really good though too. And if you're looking to get your CDL and go through a company, it seems like a good company to go to get your CDL through. They're gonna pay you. The only downside on that CDL training is that they have a year contract. Now you're not gonna be signing a contract, I promise to work for you for a year. However, they are charging you for the training, and the time spent with them is spent repaying that. So if you don't get up to a year of experience with them, then they are going to charge that back to you. So it's not necessarily a contract, but you know, it's kind of one of those things where it's a catch-22. They keep you stuck. And here's the couple of things that I do not like about Prime. I do not like that they have such a low governed truck. Now I get it, for this first 6 months to a year, maybe put a governor on these guys just till they get enough experience to where they're knowledgeable about the truck and what the truck can handle. But after that, I think it's important to give drivers the freedom and the independence to make good choices and let us be professionals. Don't force professionalism on us. And if we're not making the cut, send us packing. It's not a big deal. Move on to the next guy. You guys have such a high turnover rate anyway, it doesn't really matter. Trust drivers to be professional. I'm also not a fan of cameras in the trucks. Now, on the road is fine, but I think every driver should have their own personal dash cam for that. And the companies that decide to use those cameras to punish truck drivers for doing something that they don't see as right, it's a big problem. And it seems like from that gentleman we've seen on YouTube talking about his experience that they're really going to crack on you if you make any small mistake. And I'm not a big fan of that. For me, when I'm going to drive a truck, I want to be left alone. Tell me what I need to do, let me do it, and just leave me be. You know, let me do my job and trust me to do it. So would I go work for Prime? Me personally, the answer is no. But that's mainly because of the company oversight and micromanaging every decision that the truck driver makes, and that's a big problem for me personally. However, I can see a good value with this company to go and get your CDL through. Get a little bit of experience and get on the road. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is with major carriers these days. About all they're good for is getting you enough experience and enough training to move on to something else. And based off of my research, it might be a great starter company to go for, but I'll advise you, do not get wrapped up in lease purchase. And if you can get out of that reefer as soon as possible and move on to something that's going to keep you moving a little bit more, do that. That's going to be it for this one. Let me know any other companies you guys want me to do a deep dive on next. And check out some of my other deep dives in the playlist right here. All right, bye.